Do you want to take better film photos, but you don't know how? Well, I've got you covered. And I'm not going to tell you to start stealing e-bikes so you can afford to buy a Leica M6, even though it'd probably help. Nah, I'm just going to get right into some of the best film photography tips that I've learned over the years. So let's not waste any more time. First up, when it comes to shooting film, you generally want to overexpose by one stop. Negative film hates being underexposed. It can't get all that information from the shadows if it is underexposed, and it ends up looking really bad, really muddy, and just pretty shit. If you're overexposed by one stop, you're kind of hedging your bets, and it just gives you a much easier chance of being able to get a well-exposed image easily. And talking about getting a cleaner image, tip 2 is about having a prime lens. A prime lens is basically just a lens that is stuck at one focal length, so like 50mm or 35mm, rather than being a zoom lens. Prime lenses are generally way better quality than zoom lenses. You'll get sharper images, you'll just get generally nicer looking images. But none of that will matter if you don't keep your film camera in check. Replace your light seals, make sure your light seals are all good, because if not, you're going to have light leaks. It's a really common thing that I see all the time, especially in beginners. They just buy an old film camera and end up with loads of light leaks, and they don't understand why. Replace your light seals and you'll get great shots with no light leaks. Next up, what are we on now? Number 4? Yeah. It's a good idea to make sure you're using the right film for the job. If you're shooting in low light for most of the time, then using like an 800 ISO film or higher would be ideal. If you're shooting in nighttime, you might want to use like Cinestill 800T. If you're just shooting a festival where you're off your nut the whole weekend, Kodak Gold is going to be fine. So get the right film. Don't cheap out if you want to take really high quality photos. It's just a good thing to do. Once you've got your film and you've taken your shots, then you're going to want to get it developed. And that is tip number 5. Make sure you use a good lab, because the quality of scans varies so much from lab to lab, and you can believe that you're taking bad film photos when actually you're just going to a shit lab. Don't waste your money on those janky scans, and go to somewhere that's well known and is good and people talk about a lot, because then you'll get the best scans that you can get. On to tip 6, and this is about getting your work printed. If you really want to experience your photography in a different way, then printing your work is a great way to really see it how it should be seen, and to, you can gift it to people, you can put it on the wall and have it there and actually be experiencing it rather than it just being on your phone. You could do a digital print, or you could hand enlarge your images from your negatives. That would be a whole other experience too, and that would be something that's great to do. But this leads me on to number 7, which is about working towards a zine or a book. Now, this is a hard thing to do. It's quite challenging to learn how to make a photo book and to put that together, and then to buy 50 odd that have been made and then to sell them. But it's really, really rewarding, and it's, again, how your work should be experienced. It should be built together, all together in a book or something like that, and people should be able to look at it in the way that you've put it together. If you want to know how to do that, then there's a walkthrough on my channel of how to make a photo book or zine, and I think that's really helpful. So if you want to do that, it's there. Tip number 8 is something that took me a while to figure out, but now I know it, then it's really, really helpful. When we start photography, film photography, whatever, we usually get our first prime lens and it's like f1.8, and we just want to shoot at f1.8 the whole time. It's like, well, surely this is the best that this lens can, the best way this lens can shoot. But the truth is, lenses are generally sharpest between like f5.6 to sort of f10, and also like having everything in the background be fully blurred because you're shooting f1.8 isn't necessarily the most effective way to shoot things. So try to use more variety when it comes to your aperture, because there's so many different apertures that you can use and they all have different uses, whereas just shooting at f1.8 gets a bit old, and there's much better ways to be effective in photography. And next up, we've got something that a lot of people just don't do, but again, it's super, super effective. Editing your film photos. This is something that for some reason seems a bit taboo in film photography, but film photos were edited in the darkroom in the past for years and years and years, and now we can just do it in Lightroom. It's basically the same thing, just done in a different way. All of your favorite film photographers are definitely editing their film photos, and you can see it, and it's effective and it looks really good. So you should do it, because if you're not, your film photos are probably suffering for it. For number 10, I've got a little fun one that I really, really like. This doesn't work with every single camera, but if you've got like a normal manual SLR camera or rangefinder, then it probably will work. But basically on those cameras, when you first load the film, the first picture will usually have what's called a first off the roll shot, which is basically a picture that's got a portion of it that is sort of has a light leak. And that's because it's the part that was exposed when you first loaded the film. On a lot of other cameras, they automatically load the film and therefore you won't get that. But on SLRs and rangefinders, you will. And the tip is to make the most of that first off the roll shot, because you can get some really sick effects and really cool shots from those first off the roll photos. So when you're first loading your film, think about it. Think about that first off the roll shot if your camera does that. I hope you've been loving the tips so far, but just before we go ahead, I want to talk about something that I've been working on for a while. Recently, I realized how much I'd learned in film photography and how useful all of that information would be to someone that was just starting out. So recently, I put together a course that will take you from a complete beginner in film photography to taking bangers on the regular. This is basically the course I wish I had when I first started shooting film. And the best thing is, the first 100 people can get 50% off if they use the code in my description. So go ahead, take a look, get yourself a good discount, and get taking those sweet, sweet film photos. Anyway, let's get back into tip 11. And I think this is a really handy one, especially with how expensive film is these days. But basically, in some situations, it could be handy to frame things using your phone camera. You could take a few pictures in a specific location on your phone camera until you find that right composition, the one that you want to take with your film camera. It helps to keep you in that creative mindset and get, things flowing, but without having to use, $10 worth of shots or whatever. Next up is number 12. And if you're storing film for a long time, then you want to consider storing it in the fridge. Film starts to degrade over time. And if you keep it in the fridge, it slows that degradation down. This means you're more likely to maintain a good structure and everything's going to look good in your film shots. So put them in the fridge, don't put them on a hot windowsill, basically. And this leads me onto flying with film. If you're going on holiday regularly and you're taking film with you, then unfortunately, it can damage the film. When you go through airport scanners, the scanners are releasing X-rays or whatever, and that can damage the film. Some of the new scanners have become more powerful, and because they're more powerful, they're more likely to cause damage. So when you go to an airport with film, it's best to ask security about whether they need to hand inspect your film or put it through the scanner. They'll maybe tell you that if it's below 1600 ISO, then it's safe. And unfortunately, you might have to just trust that. Otherwise, what I've done sometimes is buy film in a location, in the place that I'm flying to, and then get it developed in that location as well, just to avoid any possibility of ruining the film. And while we're still talking about film, this next one could be an absolute lifesaver. If you ever accidentally open the back of your film camera up, you might think, that's it, all of my photos are done for. But that's actually probably not the case. If you open the back of your film camera, then you will expose some of those pictures and some of them will be destroyed. However, whatever's left in the canister will still be fine. And actually whatever's wrapped around the spool most of those pictures will be fine as well. For some reason, it sort of creates its own light seal by being wrapped around itself. And so generally, actually, you don't lose as many pictures as you would think. So if you've shot a full roll and you've opened it up, then just close it back up really quick and just wind it all the way back into the canister and take your film out. If you've only shot half the roll, then close your camera up and just keep shooting. I guarantee you will not have lost as many pictures as you think. On to number 15, and these hacks are flying out, mate. And I think this one's easily slept on because we're constantly looking at Instagram and just seeing hundreds of pictures every day. But get your inspiration from photo books and exhibitions. When we look at a photo book, we're looking at a carefully curated body of work. We're looking at the identity of a specific photographer. But it also really helps to inspire us from our own creative ruts in photography. It happens to me all the time where I feel like I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, or I'm not quite sure if I'm on the right track. And then I'll look at someone else's work and it can just spark that inspiration. Hack number 16, coming straight out of nowhere. Get to know your community. Go on photo walks, go to exhibitions, as I said before, go to your local photo book shop and all that shit. All of those things are a million times better than doing anything on Instagram. Number 17, this probably should have been near the start, but I don't care. Do you think I care? Look at me. Does it all look like I care? Learn to shoot fully manually first. If you're just getting into film photography, just get yourself a fully manual film camera. One where you have to choose the shutter speed, the aperture, you have to read that light meter, you have to focus, because then you will fully learn and understand what you're doing in photography, and it will make you a better and more well-rounded photographer. And while we're talking about cameras, it would be handy to probably just stick with one lens. If you just stick with one focal length, like 35mm or 50mm, then you're much more likely to grow as a photographer using a single lens. It is just a much simpler way to shoot. It helps you to start to create a bit of an identity because you're using one specific focal length, and you learn to deal with challenges by using your head rather than just zooming with a lens. Right, where are we? It's like number 19. If you're still here, buy yourself a pack of marshmallows and eat at least 5 because you're the real G's. 19 is always take your camera with you. Wherever you go, just take it with you. Have it in a little bag, a little shoulder bag, whatever. Just have it. I can't tell you the amount of photos that I've missed just by not being ready to shoot or not having my camera with me. And I always feel dumb for doing it. Just have it with you. It's not that hard. And the rewards are good. Moving on, we've got number 20, and it is something that's maybe a little bit overlooked sometimes. Use a flash. You don't have to use it all the time, but get to grips with it. Learn how to use it. Use it in the nighttime. Use it when the sun's setting. Use it whenever you want. You could use it in the daytime as a fill light. It could be really interesting. Getting to grips with a flash and learning how to use it is really valuable. And again, it'll make you a better photographer. You can get some interesting photos with it. You might choose to experiment with flash then in the future. Do it. Hack 21 is to learn about layers of light. Layers of light in photography is basically a way to ensure that you don't have a flat image. Layers of light create depth, they make it feel immersive, more 3D, and it looks great. Layers of light is essentially light, shadow, light, whatever. You've got multiple layers of light. Whereas, let's say you're out on a really sunny day, it could be easy for it all to just be bright, harsh light. And generally that looks flat, it doesn't look great, and it's not very immersive. Learn to see layers of light, learn how to use them. I've got videos that are a bit more in depth about this on my channel. Go and take a look. It's really, really useful, and it makes your photos look great. Tip 22 is to consider learning to develop and scan your own film. It's not something I do because I just can't be bothered. I don't really have the space. But if you do have the space and you have the money to invest in the things that you need straight away, then it will save you loads of money long term. And it's another thing, it's another part of film photography that, again, is really rewarding because when you do it, you develop your own film. That's an amazing process to see it happen. Tip 23, play with shutter speeds. Don't just go for the safe shutter speeds. Don't just go for 1,000th of a second so that you can be sure that things aren't going to be blurry. Play around. Go down to 1/10 of a second. Go down to 1/30th of a second. Get that movement. See what it looks like. I shot for ages, never going below like 250th of a second or something. And I wish that I'd gone down into low shutter speeds much sooner because I really enjoy shooting slow shutter speeds. And now we're on 24. You should have seen this one coming. It's learn to predict the future. In photography, it's so easy to just be reactive. Just see something as it's happening, put your camera up, take a picture. It's a bit too easy to do that and just stay in that sort of mode. When you get really good and more sort of tuned in with what's going on, then learning to try and see into like what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds can help you to get insane compositions that most people won't be aware of or thinking about that they might happen. So like if you're in, doing street photography and you can hear the sound of a skateboard, but you're not really listening to it because there's so many other things going on. Some people might see a skateboarder come straight past them in the moment and be like, oh, I'll take a picture. But if you're tuned into it, then you might be aware, oh, this person's going to pass me in 10 seconds. They might do something cool. Maybe I'll be able to get a cool composition or something like that. And you're more tuned in and you're more ready to get those moments. And finally, number 25, something I think that's really important, and you hear it quite often, but basically, learn the rules, then break them. Learn how to do stuff, learn the technicalities, learn, the rule of thirds, all that bullshit. Learn those things, and then think about how you creatively want to break those rules in order to create your own style. This is what a lot of the greats do. They know how to do a technically good photo, but just because the photo is technically good doesn't mean it resonates with anyone. Anyway, there's your 25 film photography hacks. I hope they were useful. I'm going to actually put all these tips together in a PDF file, and you can just get it, download it, and it just makes things easier because you can then quickly refer to these things. It'll just be like headlines of what they are. And of course, go and check out my film photography course. That will be really, really handy to anyone that's just getting into film photography and wants to take shit to a next level. And thanks. Take care. Go ahead and do a few kick-ups in the garden, or I don't know, go out and maybe take the best picture you've taken all day. Anyway, take care.